rise and grind, guys. Let's get this bread. Let's start this new year right with a brand new podcast episode of Everything in Poderation, where internet culture meets us, your hosts. I'm Daly, and my New Year's resolution is to get up at 5:30 a.m. every day in order to feed roosters that are not yet up.
Hey guys, I'm Colin Sparley, and I'm talking to you from the Iron Paradise. I just released my new Terramana tequila. I got a new line of headphones coming out through Under Armour. They're the best sweat-resistant, water-resistant headphones. I got up at 4:30 in the morning this morning, and my New Year's resolution is to rise and grind at 4 o'clock in the morning. Hit the weights every day. Go to work, drive through my gate and my house to get to work because nothing fucking stops me from grinding. All right? Get that bread. Let's go.
You know, I thought you were doing The Rock, but then your voice turned into the Sean Evans. It was weird.
I love
hi.
They're both bald, okay?
Exactly. That's all they need. Hi, I'm the entity formerly known as Robert, but unlike the other two on this podcast, I've achieved all of my New Year's resolutions and have improved so much that I've transcended humanity. You can call me by my new name, Kyle.
So
Hey, Kyle.
Hey, Kyle. He is floating above a bed of Monster energy drinks.
He's just a
right
light.
now.
He's just a light in the camera as we're recording this.
You don't see it, but there's a 24-pack of Monster on Robert's desk right now. What flavor is it, Robert?
You know, I wish I knew. I can't name a single Monster flavor, even for improv. Mix is mix
battery. There's battery acid, and then there's like slightly sweetened battery acid. And
is that the real name of it?
And then there's juice.
I believe it.
Mixed with battery acid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then some ginseng thrown in there for extra energy.
Yeah. Ginseng, very, very
my
nice.
My favorite Monster flavor is Red Bull. Daily, save us.
Anyway, in case our very intimidating New Year's goals were any indication, we're talking about self-optimization today. It's something that we all kind of resolve to do at the beginning of the year, hence New Year's resolutions. But there's these kings and queens on the internet 24/7 trying to be the best that they can be and sharing their wisdom with us peons as to how we can be better people and get up at 5:30 a.m. every day and do yoga and meditate and take a bubble bath at night to de-stress and meditate some more. And there's a lot of advice out there. And you might run into that. There's like YouTubers like Thomas Frank and Matt Diavella and like Lavender. And I'm personally a fan of Rowena Sai and her more, I think, relaxed approach to things. But I have subjected my friends to this hustle culture that I think a lot of us get really into at the beginning of the year. But I've been into it like 24/7, like all this last year. I was like, I want to find myself. I want to establish good habits. Colin, I know you read Atomic Habits. We both read that around the same time.
We did. And Atomic Habits is probably like the lowest on the bullshit meter sort of like stuff that I found so far in terms of self-help. It's like very much practical. It's a lot of hitting the same point over and over again. I will say it's kind of repetitive, but all in all, like I think there's some genuinely useful stuff in there that you can at least get some takeaways from. So
you're saying there's some bullshit to the self-help movement? Question mark?
No, did I say that? Oh gosh, man. Let me go put my crystals and essential oils away real quick.
What do you mean? So self-help, it seems like it should be a very altruistic thing, right? Like you're helping yourself, you're helping other people, etc. Why would there be any bullshit to it?
I didn't think there was. Why don't you enlighten me, Daly?
Do you think there's bullshit to it? Well, maybe there is, in the sense that not all of us have, there's that phrase that I love on those very inspirational Instagram accounts where it's like, you have the same 24 hours as Beyonce. What are you doing with your life? And it's like, maybe I do, but I don't have Beyonce's bank account, or like I'm not married to Jay-Z. I'm not.
Yeah.
There's some other factors in there.
Yeah, that's what I hate about those posts is that, you know, like, yeah, that's how time works. I understand how time works. Like, that's a pretty basic function, but that doesn't factor in all of the other societal, educational connections, you know, the shit you need. Like, Beyonce wakes up, I don't care when she wakes up because she's gonna have a butler make her fucking breakfast for her, and I have to get up and pretend I like oatmeal. You know what I mean? Like, that's it.
What,
it
you don't like oatmeal?
makes no sense.
Yeah, that's what bothered, like, all those posts that were going around and then eventually got heavily memed on about, like, men, what's keeping you from looking like this? And it'll show a picture of, like, fucking Chris Evans with his shirt off after training for Marvel movies. And it's like, well, guess what? I don't have a goddamn personal trainer and a Marvel movie-sized budget to pay for it all.
Yeah, and also,
But you
can we
do
talk
have
about
willpower.
I mean, we all have willpower. That's the human condition, unfortunately. But can we talk about, with like Chris Evans as an example, it's his literal job to look that hot. You know, like he gets paid to do that. I get paid to write stuff. So lifting weights and getting yoked is not, I mean, it'd be nice. Do I have the time for it like Chris Evans does? Not really.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of aspirational figures like that it's like, let's not factor in that they're literally being paid to do this, or that when they're not on the movie shoot, they're like, bruh, I just want to eat a pizza.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, to a lot of those guys are just like, yeah, no, this is fucking awful. I hate this whole like training routine. Like Kumail Nanjiani, remember when he got really hot?
Yeah,
for his Marvel movie.
You know, I feel like
this is terrible. Like this, I hate doing this.
We're less than 15 minutes in and already going for the throat of the self-improvement fucking movement.
Dang. But it doesn't always have to come down to like physical health. There's also the idea of like having the mental habits of like, you know, getting up at a certain time every day, whether that's fucking, you had me beat, Colin. You were like 4:00. I'm up. I'm driving down in my Tesla. Da, da, da.
By the way, that's a real story. The Rock literally drove through the front gate of his fucking house because it wouldn't open. And then the same day he got it replaced. He's like, I'm going to be late for work. I had to drive the truck through the front gate. It's like, must be nice to be able to pay for that at the drop of a fucking hat.
It's because he has the same 24 hours as Beyonce, and he knows that, and he values that his time. That's
same
how
24 hours. Yeah.
Went through.
I mean, what would Beyonce do? What WWBD? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What would Beyonce do?
What would
I've
she
got
do?
that tattooed.
Yeah.
Just on my knuckles.
Mm-hmm.
What would Beyonce do? That's what I ask myself, absolutely, when I get up every day at not 4 a.m. But that is like a lot of this content, other than the memeable Instagram content, seems to be more aimed at like the average person. Like the Thomas Franks and Matt Diavellas of YouTube are more like, you know, if you got your job and school, here's how to, you know, organize all your responsibilities and still be able to find time to work out and still be able to wake up earlier to read, because all of us should be reading at all times and ignoring social media.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I actually watched a little bit of Thomas Frank, Robin and I did. And well, first of all, he does bring up Atomic Habits, at least in the video that I watched. And secondly, I kind of like, even though, you know, when I'm watching his stuff, it made me just feel like, man, I got to get back on my shit. It was presented in a way that it didn't make me feel terrible about myself. It was just presented in a way that he's like, yeah, I just set a goal for myself and told myself like what I wanted to look like, and that's what I went for. I'm like, okay, all right. I mean, this feels doable. What do you think, Robert?
When Daly sent us some links in our prep meetings for this this thing, I sent back like a day later, I have some thoughts. TM. Capital T. Permission to go off.
Permission granted.
Thank you. Thomas Frank is an anti-gamer, and I hate him.
Oh shit!
No, he's
Is there
fine.
anti-gamer messaging?
Well, okay, I will say yes, because I saw a video of his called the 5-hour rule, which TLDR, dedicate 1 hour a day, 5 days a week to learning, which that's fine.
Okay.
That's a pretty positive message, and I get it. I have a lot of problems with it, but I think like the idea of it's pretty solid. But his tips for helping you carve out that hour of time every day is to eliminate low yield activities or low value activities. And as he's narrating that, he picks up a trash can and throws away a Switch Pro controller and fucking the Prince of Persia Blu-ray, like the movie, which shitty movie, but it's still a video game movie.
Why
so
do you
my
have
brain
the
just connected
movie?
it. Right? Like, of course, everyone
Why do
knows
you
it's a
have
low
that?
value activity. Get your head out of your ass, Thomas.
Yeah,
I'm watching this every day for an hour, just in the hour. I don't care if the runtime's longer, but once a day for 5 days a week.
yeah.
Yes,
I always
absolutely.
hate oh, you know that thing you like? Fuck that.
Yeah. And that was my main issue with the video. Well, one of my mains, because the idea of low value activity differs from person to person. And there is this weird inherent idea in the self-help movement that anything is like the low value things should be obvious, like pop culture, like video games, movies, right? Or sitting there and binging Netflix. And there's just this inherent assumption of if you do that, it's a low value activity. You're a shitty human being. Get right, get fit, get better, learn now, right? Yeah. And it's like, no, that's not really how it works. If someone is in a place in their life where they need to binge a Netflix TV show all day, every day, just to feel something, there's something more wrong with them than just saying, hey, stop and do workouts.
Yeah, have you tried like, not? That's the same.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's, I appreciate the message, but your messaging around it isn't just cold turkey eliminate what I consider low value activities, because that's not the same for everyone.
That's like,
I mean, like, well, consider us gamers, right? I don't know. Hashtag gamers. Us three, I don't think we'd ever consider eliminating video games completely from our lives to improve it, right? No. Because that would inherently, what's the opposite of improve? Fuck our lives.
Yeah, that's the yes, absolutely.
I think at this point, my quality of life would severely drop if I cut out video games. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
I'm pretty heavily reliant.
There's a big assumption by these kinds of like YouTubers, like self-improvement, self-optimization YouTubers, that I think the common denominator is like productivity is everything. If you're not being productive, what are you doing with your life? You need to start a project. You need to start a business. There's like there's a weird overlap with business too. That has definitely made me a little warier of some personalities than others. But like it isn't the best messaging to give people during the pandemic, where it's like, what did you do with your 2020? You should have been able to do this and this and this and this and this because you had all that time off, right?
Oh God, this is that really hits hard for me, because I am definitely 100% someone, even without like a YouTuber or an influencer like breathing down my neck telling me like, hey, you should be doing this, that, and this, and you should never spend a waking hour of your fucking life not being productive. It generally does like put a level of anxiety in me, like where I do feel like if I am doing something in the day and I spend a day and I haven't learned something, I haven't done something to like work towards a goal or something like an idea, then that day's wasted. That day is like a bad day. Like I feel like shit because I didn't do anything to check a box, really.
Yeah, well, so what I think it is there is that there should be a little bit of a benefit of the doubt, right? I'm a bit of an optimist, and I like to assume most people are always trying their best, right? I'd like to believe that. Sometimes them trying their best means they're spreading messages I don't agree with. But I have to commend them that in some ways they're doing the work to get their message out there, right? And when you are doing something you love, I would, again, benefit of the doubt, assume you are bettering yourself to make yourself better at the thing you love, right? So to go back to Thomas Frank's 5-hour rule, right? Spend an hour a day learning something. His example of what he did to learn more, to be a good boy at TM, is I spent an hour a day reading a book about like filming and editing and like how to make better videos. And then it hit me like, well, no shit, you're a YouTube, like a fucking course. Like, it's your literal job. Of course you're going to learn something that helps you be better at your job. And that's when it hit me. I'd hope everyone does that, you know? Like, that should just be an inherent drive everyone should have. And I don't mean that to sound like if you're not driven to do that, you're not a quote unquote optimal human being. But the way he's presenting it kind of assumes like, all humans are shitty and don't want to be better. Come to me and I will show you the way to be a best human, you know?
Yeah. I mean, especially if it's like, to be fair, I haven't seen like a shitload of his videos. I've only seen like one or two. But like, especially if it's presented in a way that like, I am better than you because I do these things. You know what I'm saying? It's not, especially if it's not coming from a place of like, hey, I was, this is some stuff that worked for me. And I'm just going to try to objectively present this information to you, and you can perceive it as you will.
That reminds me of, do y'all remember that era in YouTube where that guy on that ad kept coming up and he was like, hey, I'm here in my garage. There's my
Lamborghini.
Ferrari. And then my Lamborghini, whatever car go fast.
My nice
car.
Three fucking 6-figure car.
And then over here is my bookshelf because I keep books in the garage so that they smell like gasoline. So when I read them, I can just go, and knowledge.
That's some high octane reading right
there.
there.
See, what he doesn't show and tell you is he does that because he actually doesn't read those books. He gets the smell, the Ferrari Lamborghini gasoline smell or whatever, because of course he buys the high grade quality gasoline. And he takes those books, he rips out the pages, chops them up real powder-like, and snorts them.
That's some gourmet shit, TM.
Yeah.
That's the secret that he was trying to teach us. It was all in that video, but we all skipped it because it was an ad. But that video of his name is Ty Lopez, and he also is kind of within this circle of kind of like self-help guru-esque kind of person. And his approach was way more condescending than I think a lot of the other people that I've linked to you guys. And he was just kind of like, knowledge, get it. Like, you need to be working on yourself, and you're not, because you're never going to get anywhere. You're never going to have fast price car.
Yeah. I mean, it's like back in the 80s and 90s where people would sell those fucking VHS tapes. They're like, get rich quick, you pussy. You see me sitting on this fucking yacht with these hot babes around my shoulder. You could be like me and wear this Adidas fucking sweatsuit and sit on a boat if you just do these easy 5 steps. Also, this is a pyramid scheme.
MLM, baby.
Multi-level marketing.
MLMs. They're always lurking on the edges of the self-help guru-esque kind of things too. Would you say then that this, like the subtle art of giving a fuck, these books that have like the inflammatory titles like The World is Fucked, Here's How to Give a Fuck About Yourself, How to Make Friends and Influence People, is this just the second round of like MLM, like the secret schemes?
I mean, I think it varies book to book. I haven't read something like The Subtle Art of Giving a Fuck. Really, the biggest major self-help book I've read is like Atomic Habits and stuff about productivity. It hasn't really been so much like general life philosophy stuff. So
I think it has the potential to feel MLM-y because, I was talking about this with one of my other friends because she has a good friend who's very into self-help, right? And I can respect that, as much as it might have sounded like I'm not a big fan of the self-help movement, which I'm personally not. It doesn't really fit my lifestyle and whatever, but there are people out there who need that sometimes. Sometimes they need a book or a guru to, kind of remind them everything's going to be okay. After a year we've gone through, especially, I get it, right? Where it becomes worrisome is when you become a constant consumer of self-help, right? Where it's like you've read one book that empowers you, but then you're like, I need to chase that dragon. I need to get that feeling of being empowered again, instead of learning the lessons that empowered you and using them to further your own personal journey. Right now, it's not as much about, I'm going to wake up at 5 a.m. every day so I can get a few more hours in my day. It's more about, I need more people to tell me to wake up at 5 a.m. just because I need that high, I guess.
Yeah. And even then too, those people that constantly consume self-help books and need someone else to tell them about how to live every aspect of their life and what their philosophies are, right? They can't really, it almost feels like they can't think for themselves. And it kind of reminds me of, I did read Quiet, which was all about, introverts living in an extroverted world and stuff like that. And there was a part where the author tells an anecdote about going to this huge fucking camp about basically like breaking out of your shell and becoming more extroverted. And it was like very culty, and it was led by this dude who was like major in the self-help industry. He was like fucking buku bucks rich and like wrote all these books. I can't remember his name, but I'm pretty sure he's kind of famous.
Was it Tony Robbins?
I think it was. I think that's exactly who it was.
Like Run Across the Coals with Oprah, Tony Robinson?
I think it was him. But yeah, he was like leading all these exercises with this crowd and like look to your left and talk to the person and smile at them and greet them and stuff like that. And it's like, oh my God, this is just kind of terrifying. Like you're it's like it feels like you're creating robots.
Yeah. I'm gonna be real with y'all. So this year was the first year that I haven't been in school ever in my life.
Isn't it terrifying?
It's terrifying. And so I didn't have a lot of, people like my classmates and contemporaries to look at and be like, I'm doing the right thing, right? I feel like I was sitting in a classroom and I was like sitting far enough away from people that I wasn't able to like look over at their paper and be like, I'm doing this right? Am I doing this right? And the paper is life. Let's get deep here.
Whoa. Hold on, I gotta take another hit of that bong. Can you pass it over?
Yeah. Through the power of Discord new feature, the bong pass. But so I was attracted to a lot of these like self-help book-esque people, actual books, different YouTube videos, master classes, etc. Because I was like, I do want someone to tell me like, this is what you need to be doing. And then once I'm doing that, I can just like not worry about it. But it does become a cycle, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
It's like, well, yeah, you have this information, but you haven't read this book. You haven't read this book.
Holy
sure,
fuck.
you're like establishing this habit, but is this actually the one that's going to like most optimize what you're doing? You just become more unsure of like, what am I doing with my life?
Yeah. Read any given self-help book, at least from my experience so far, and it's like you come out of that book with like at least 10 or so more books recommended to you throughout said book. And then those books recommend you like 10 or 15 more, and it just never fucking ends.
It's a web.
Yeah, and
and
I was gonna say to Daly's point that both of us were, I think we brought it up before, but we were in the same grad program and that's how we met. But as someone who was just in school for so god awfully long, getting out of school and just all of a sudden have that structure drop out from under you. You know what I'm saying? Now you're left to your own devices. Now you're there. Now you have to create your own structure, your own routine, your own schedule. And it's one of those things where like, yeah, you think you're fine doing it because you've done it for so long, but then it happens and it's like, fuck. Nope. Especially in the middle of a pandemic. It's
also just throw that in there for the extra difficulty.
Yeah, exactly. It becomes hard. And so I think that's why Daly and I both especially have been looking to things like this. Yeah.
Can I ask, Daly, are you still in the cycle right now? Where are you in this self-help cycle?
Maybe I'm still in the cycle. Yeah. I definitely, I did like the whole like New Year's, like I'm going to do this and this and this and this. And I've been trying to stick to that. And I hope that I'm on the path where I just do that instead of like thinking of more things to add to the structure and schedule that I've built out for myself. because one of, I think, the most helpful classes that I did ever. It's on Coursera for free. Shout out, please sponsor us, Coursera.
And you can get 10% off if you click on the
10%
link.
off of free. Yes.
Yeah, in this state, that just takes care of tax.
Yes. So it's the science of well-being, and it's a class taught at Yale. So I felt like a smarty doing that, first of all. But
Yale.
One of the main, it was very self-helpy, I guess, but like the main takeaway that I took from it was that, yeah, you can know like the psychological principles behind like why you're procrastinating or why you put things off or why you're not satisfied with like buying things short term, etc. Knowing isn't half the battle, unlike what G.I. Joe taught us as children, perhaps, if you ever watched those animated G.I. Joe specials.
The most patriotic.
Yes. It doesn't matter that you know like why you're procrastinating. It doesn't matter that you know why you're not where you want to be. You just have to put in the action, put in the work, adjust yourself. But I think that's the hardest step of like this self-help hustle, is that you consume all the information, but you never go to do the action. You can plan all you want, but you never dive in.
Yeah, it's something that I've kind of learned in my, now I'm how many years out of school? 4 years out of school. Because, I only did undergrad. Something that I've learned is that, a lot of the self-help stuff, from what I've learned through osmosis in the past 4 years and 50 weeks, is they push motivation, right? Like, you just got to motivate yourself. That's all it takes. Like it's easy. Like, you just flick a switch and there you go. I'm motivated. Let's do this.
Listen
right?
to the Rocky soundtrack.
Which, that can motivate
this is
people,
giving me fucking anxiety just thinking about it.
But here's the tough thing with motivation, right? Is there's the short-term motivation, like literally put on the Rocky soundtrack. I want to run up some stairs, and then you do that once, and you're like, "Fuck stairs, never doing it again,"
Yeah,
right? And that's
this.
it. Your motivation's over. What's a lot harder to find, and I don't think it's going to be anything you ever find in a self-help book, a guru video, a class. It's something you have to find inside. Is your own motivation to just want to do it.
Yeah.
And you can't just will yourself to be like, I'm going to be a CEO. And then it just happens, like you can't just say it. You have to truly feel it. Mm-hmm. And more often than not, the goals that you want to fulfill will just kind of come to you. You can't just force it and assume I'm going to get a Lambo. Like,
I'm just going to think about it real hard and it will happen.
Yeah, like, I mean, for me, I've let's get a little personal. I've been pretty out of shape for most of my life, right? And recently I've been starting to lose weight, like 2-3 months now. I've been losing weight. And it had, like, sure, I could have done this 4 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, right? But obviously the motivation wasn't there. And, I thought about it before. Should I lose weight? I don't know. But now I'm in a place where it's like, it's easy almost. It's just kind of like natural. Like, that's the thing I want to do. So I'm just going to do it,
Yeah, and to kind of play off of that's the biggest takeaway from all this self-help shit, is just like, you got to go in knowing that like it's okay if you find a self-help thing that works for you. I'm not saying that all self-help is bad. Some of it is really good. Like Atomic Habits, there was some nuggets of information in there that I actually do apply to the way I handle certain things. And
good
yeah,
shit.
it is. And I think the biggest takeaway there is like, setting goals is great, but it's fucking pointless if you're not setting up the steps to get there. And that's what's going to make them happen, is like, you got to chew off one small bite at a time. Like, even the smallest of steps, even if you have to start the smallest of steps, just something that you can do every day until you feel comfortable enough to move on to that next little bite.
Make your bed.
Yeah.
Do it.
Something super simple.
Yeah, make your bed right now. You can hear us.
Go.
Make your bed. Do it.
Go make your fucking bed.
Go
and
make your bed.
Listen, after you listen to this podcast, or maybe actually it would be perfect while you're listening to this podcast, go take care of that laundry chair that I know is sitting in your room right now.
There's a lot. Everyone's got that laundry
Everyone
chair.
Has a fucking, listen, I just so happened to have this put away as of yesterday, my laundry chair. I had a laundry chair
Yay.
just yesterday.
Progress.
And it's gone. Okay. Also, pro tip, don't get a laundry basket to put your clean clothes in because that makes you do laundry chair and it makes you have to fucking put it away. Or else it's just going to look like a laundry chair.
Instead, burn your clothes after you're done wearing. Just
burn.
Always buy
Listen,
new
just
clothes.
wear the same 3 outfits. Just rotate them. You're going to go through laundry detergent quicker, but fuck it.
I mean,
wash
that is a bastion of the self-help industry is that copying what the most successful CEOs do, and one of those things is Steve Jobs, he wore his one outfit every day.
Yeah.
Look where that got him.
Yeah, fuck that. Fuck self-expression, you guys. Just wear the same thing every day.
Get that turtleneck, dad shoes, dad jeans.
Are we going to
Is
round glasses.
Was this a good time to shift over to talking about Matt D'Avella?
Oh, I thought we were going to start talking about Marie Kondo there for a second.
Marie Kondo. Okay, she does not deserve the shit that she gets, and maybe that'll come up, maybe it won't, but I'm here to fight for
I've never read her books, so I
Kondo.
can't.
I'll fight for Kondo. Kondo's great.
Bitch.
Okay. But let's rag on Matt D'Avella, or praise him. I don't know which one you wanted to do, Robert.
Daly, what do you think?
I don't think that he vibes with your vibes, is what I think.
I like his presentation. He's a lot funnier than I thought. I watched his video. I think it's the one that he pins on his YouTube channel, and it's the one about being a minimalist. And I remember if you haven't seen the video, the first minute or two is who the fuck is this asshole? He's like, I woke up at 5 a.m. I only have one bowl in my kitchen because as a minimalist, that's all I need. And shit like that. And I was like, this guy's a fucking asshole. And then partway through it, he's like, I'm just kidding. I'm not that much of an asshole. And I'm like, okay, all right, you got me.
Yeah, you got me.
I didn't watch this.
You got me.
Yeah, it's pretty good. And I'm a fan of the minimalism movement. I guess I don't practice it as hardcore as some other minimalists, but I do think Marie Kondo has a good vibe of keep things that bring you joy. If it doesn't bring you joy, throw it out. Otherwise, you're going to become a hoarder. I think that's just practical and useful. What I feel like Matt D'Avella is a little bit new agey hippie because he brings on that New York Times bestseller a lot. What's his name? Greg McKeown.
Yes, I believe that's right.
I've heard that name.
Yeah.
Greg. Yeah, definitely Greg. Greg.
Yeah, he wrote that book about essentialism, which maybe is how you know of him, Colin. And the essentialism is basically minimalism. Just, care about the things that are important to you, right? And all the bits I've seen of Matt's interview with him, I'm like, I respect you. You're a New York Times bestseller. I mean, that's not that hard to do apparently nowadays, but still cool, good for you. And he says stuff like, when you choose to do something, you're saying no to other things. And when you think of it that way, you'll understand what's more important in your life. What's the most essential things in your life. And I can't help but think yeah, that's how time and space, when you do something, you're saying no to a million other things because you're doing that, right? Duh.
That's a lot of self-help. That's a lot of fucking self-help. And there are legitimately people out there that think information like this is fucking revelatory.
And I mean, there's people who at that time in their life, it might be maybe we're talking from places of privilege to say that oh yeah, that's basic.
Yeah, I guess just what rubbed me the wrong way with that interview is because they were both talking about it. I think I remember they were talking from in terms of Greg, he was setting it up if you have a kid, you'll understand what's important in your life. And I'm like, well, no shit. If a parent has a child and can't decide between, I don't know, going out bar hopping versus taking care of their baby, that's the Darwin effect, baby. That's just stupidity.
You're gonna have to make that decision. You can't take the baby with you. I've tried.
Yeah.
They don't like it.
Oh, have you tried?
No, I have not.
I mean, okay. So I'm gonna play the layman in this situation. Okay, I'm gonna play the scenario in which, so say you're someone who you live in a small town, or maybe you just graduated high school, or you're someone who only has a high school diploma, right? Maybe you don't have you didn't go out of your way to get a higher education. You're not the most educated, but you work a trade job, you make decent money or whatever, you do your thing. But maybe you're just, you lack motivation, and so you've been looking to self-help to get you help, right? And so some of those things, like some people just straight up aren't exposed to like philosophies like this. You know what I'm saying? Maybe they know it in some sense in their head, but maybe it just isn't put so succinctly to them before then. You know what I'm saying? So to play devil's advocate, at least people are getting this information and they're learning about it, even if they may have known it in some way before, and it's prescient in their mind. It's there. So
yeah, to that point, a lot of the stuff that people like Matt D'Avella or even like Lavender, who's like the more like aesthetic version of it, or Jocko Williams, the Marine that's like, wake up every day at 5 a.m. because what are you doing with your life? They borrow a lot of their philosophy from like the Stoics, which if you ever had to take like a classics class in, I don't think it would be high school. I think it would be, an undergrad education, college, etc. Right. To like learn about like Marcus Aurelius's Meditations, which was literally just like his diary and a lot of his thoughts about, like just persevering through things and being kind of minimalist back in the day. It's all ancient philosophy. So a lot of the stuff that these people are giving other people are not new. I think it's just newly packaged to fit in with our world now.
Yeah. I think that, there's a lot of these tips. I mean, I consider them like a no duh, right? Yeah. But I'm also like a workaholic. So I think I might have just kind of
internalized it.
Yeah, just like on my own. It's like I kind of figured, okay, I know when I'm motivated. I know what motivates me. And I know when I'm in a moment of motivation, that's the moment to strike while the iron's hot and all that, etc. Right? Like that stuff I'm kind of struggling to put into words right now because that's just, to me, like muscle memory, I guess. Yeah. But Colin, I do respect that idea that there are people who don't have this, right? Like people who don't live to be workaholics or are motivated to do it, right? My worry with them is if they go out and seek this self-help stuff to learn how do I be motivated, right? Yeah. It's good to do that, but you have to be very careful because it can also make you constantly feel like a piece of shit.
Yes, absolutely.
Right?
There it is.
There's the tip. That's the philosophical morality of all this shit. Because, like, take Greg McKeown, for example, right? His idea of if you're doing one thing, you are saying no to a million other things. That is the first step on the road to hell. Because then you can be like, okay, I just worked. Let's take Colin's example. I just worked 9 to 5 in the factory, commuted home. I'm so tired. I'm going to heat up a frozen dinner and then chill on the couch because I need a break. I just need to watch the I was going to say The Bachelor. I don't know. Sure, The Bachelor.
I don't know. The Queen's Gambit, whatever's hot on Netflix.
Yeah, just going to chill. But then wait a minute. I'm saying no to taking a night class. I'm saying no to working out. I'm saying no to eating healthier, right? Like once you start thinking of it in all of those terms constantly, you are thinking of this idealized version of yourself that you think you are now and think you are failing. Just by thinking that way, you think you are constantly failing. And that just sends you in a spiral. And that's not great.
Yeah. I think that's the unfortunate thing too, is it, like if the theoretical person we're talking about in this situation, it's all about like the person that they find and latch onto and how that information is presented. Obviously, like everyone needs to be motivated in different ways, right? Like everyone has that person that they like the way that they present themselves, that like I want to be like that person is basically what I'm getting at, right? Or like I like this person's ideas.
I want to be like The Rock. I want to shave my head.
Right.
Yep.
And so I would hope that they find someone that they genuinely latch onto, and they don't find someone who it's like an abusive relationship, but like obviously it's not a real relationship. Like, well, I don't even know what you would call that. Like it's like it's some sort of unhealthy indirect relationship. But yeah,
codependent.
What
I don't know. I mean, It'd be like you've set goals that you know you can't achieve,
Mm-hmm.
but you still
setting
try
yourself
anyway.
up to fail.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's better because the way I said it sounds shitty. Because I think you should always strive for goals that you can't do. Because I mean that's what makes you a better person.
Shoot for
Yeah.
the moon, you'll land among the
exactly.
stars.
And I actually
Yeah,
subscribe to
but
that philosophy.
you-
So
Right, and I do too. That's why I work all the time. But also, like, you can't. At the first sign of failure, you can't just say, "Well, I'm a shitty human being. I can't try this again. I can't
right.
better myself." Like, no, when you fail, treat that as a learning moment. It's gonna suck. Like, let's be clear. The people who think failure is just a learning moment, fuck off. Failure sucks. It hurts to fail,
Yeah.
and it's really sad. But then you have to at least persevere long enough to know the light at the end of the tunnel is I have to do everything I can to not fail in the same way again. I might fail again, but hopefully it's for a different reason so I can learn the next thing to not do, you know?
And I wanted to say to Daly's earlier point, yes, these philosophies that we've been talking about actually have been around for a long time, but I think it's actually is like really important that we do have people that know how to repackage this information that's important and present it in more layman's terms, right? Make it accessible. And, you know, and to be fair, I will say that the three of us, I mean, I think we're fairly productive people compared to like, you know, the average person, you know, even though we talk about how much like we feel like we need to be more productive.
We could be more productive though, yeah.
That's
we could be
we
making
already,
6
do this
podcasts.
on top of everything else we do.
We could be doing more though.
We could do 5 podcasts a week. That's it. Let's change it up.
And we could
Daily.
be doing, you know, I don't know, comedy skits for our YouTube channel. And everything else to give you guys even more content. Subscribe to Patreon. We don't have a Patreon yet. But yeah, but that's my point is like, so even us, you know, we look to these sort of things and, you know, I would say like we're probably starting at a high, this is going to sound shitty, but we're starting at a higher like kind of baseline level than some other people would be, you know? And so like, even more so those people need a little bit more like guiding from the start, maybe.
So I do have an issue with that too, personally, because I'm very like a live and let live person. So the way I see it is, if you are the kind of person that is totally fine going to your shift, your hourly job, coming home, chilling with the significant other, playing games, watching TV, and like that's the cozy life for you, and you are happy, don't for a second feel like you need to be better, be best. I have to learn how to be Steve Jobs. Like that's not a lifestyle for you then, and that's fine. You know, like
exactly.
Not everyone needs to be this optimal working machine and be the next Beyonce. You know?
Yeah, and I think that's why this is kind of a difficult conversation, because it can come across as like one person is inferior and this other person is superior, right? Like
yeah, that's where I guess I've started to look more critically at these messages, because it's
Right.
like, what if I just want to chill? Like I can't say that I was like super productive in 2020 when
I
I
wasn't
have
either.
always prided myself on being a productive person. I had the time. I've been in a privileged place where like I don't really have to worry about money or, you know, like time. I have all the time I want. I can do what I want. But I haven't done a lot this year. And I felt really bad about that. And I think a lot of the stuff that I've been consuming in terms of like the self-development, self-optimization videos of, you know, Thomas Frank and Lavender and Matt Diavella has made me feel bad, like made me feel shamed about that. And I don't like it. I don't want that for myself. I don't want that for other people who might be going through hard times or just don't have enough time to put yet another thing on top of their already filled plate.
yeah,
Like I hope that my advice here can help you too, Daily, but also anyone else who's struggling with this. Is it's good to get into self-help to understand, you know, quote unquote, how to optimize yourself, how to be better, right? Like there are a lot of good working techniques out there that you can learn that are good guidelines, like the Pomodoro technique. Are you too familiar with that?
Yeah.
Colin, did you say no?
I said no. Yeah,
work for 25 minutes, 5-minute break, 25-minute work, 5-minute break. Do that cycle like 4 times, then take a lunch.
Tomatotimer.com. That's what I use.
And,
Interesting.
you know, when I learned about that, I was like, that's cool. That's super useful. I want to use that. I've still never used it, and I've known about it for like a fucking year. It just clearly doesn't jive with the way I work. And you know what? That's okay, you know, because everyone works differently and feels differently. And again, optimist and benefit of the doubt, etc. I do truly believe every human, if they're not motivated to be better, it's because they haven't found the thing that wants them to be, that makes them want to be better. You know, they haven't found that dream project, that career that makes sense, you know, or maybe they're just not the kind of person who needs that. And the thing that makes them better is they found love in another person. And that's all that, like, as long as I can make that person happy, that's all I need, right? It doesn't have to mean you need to be a multi-platinum Grammy award winning person. It doesn't mean you need to be the CEO of the next Facebook. It doesn't mean you need to own a Lamborghini to be happy, you know?
Yeah. That's what I mean. That's what all this boils down to. Just live a life that makes you happy. And if you're in a place where you feel like you're not there yet, then figure out what you can do to change that, to put you in a place that'll be happy. And it might seem difficult, but just break it down, you know, into small steps, right? Baby steps, even the smallest thing, maybe even make it the smallest thing you can do, even if it's just a matter of like, I don't know. Like for me, like I want to develop a game eventually. And so one of the things I've been trying to do is like, I just open Unity every day, like the game engine. I just click it and open it. That's all I do. I don't do anything in it. I just open it because I know it's there. And eventually it just puts it in your mind that like, that's there. And like next steps are there when I want to take it. Right. So that's just an example. But like at the end of the day, it's whatever makes you happy. And there's resources there to help, you know, some not as good as others as we've been talking about, but they're out there.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
I appreciate and one of the YouTubers that we've continually mentioned but not really talked a lot about on Lavender, she is kind of like, her niche was like producing this this workbook called like Artist of Life, and it's like you journal in it to figure out like, what do you want to do, like what's your ideal self, like what kind of routine do you want to have, like where do you see yourself in 5 years, that kind of thing. And I only recently watched I've been watching her content for a while, but I only recently watched like the video of her talking about how that kind of came to be a product of like a decade of just feeling like super lost and trying a ton of different things that didn't work, and having this career and then this career, and she was a singer and then she was a promoter and then she traveled a bit, and then, you know, just trying to figure out what she wanted to do. And I think that kind of messiness is important to also represent in like the self-help space, because I see a lot of like Thomas Frank's setup is nice. It's I like his aesthetic. I like his routine that he has for himself. He looks like just the optimal human being sometimes, and it's like, wow, that's
Robert,
not what I look like.
This guy's too pretty.
He's too pretty.
Yeah, he's too pretty.
You know, Matt Diavella's got his beautiful LA apartment all set up, minimalist and nice, and there's never any mess anywhere. But I think it's important to show that mess and show that failure, because it's a journey. It's not I think what self-help preaches a lot is the destination of like, here I am, you know, a specimen of a human. Yeah, rocking like a hurricane, a specimen of a human being, having worked out every day for a year, having meditated every day for a year, having done whatever. Whereas like, no, I want to see like the journey, like the days that you couldn't get up at 5 a.m., the days that, you know, the weeks that you know, totally ignored what you were working on.
Yeah, cheat meals turn into cheat months.
Yeah, really.
And
feel
things
that.
like that. I will say though, I do want to rant a little bit about Lavender.
Do it.
Yeah, because the video that I watched about Lavender kind of veered into that goop level pseudoscience type shit, where it was like, you know, everything has its own vibration, and like vibration level. And, sometimes, you want to just put yourself around good people that have good vibrations. And, these crystals have certain levels of vibrations that can even you out, and essential oils and eating certain foods. And the way the information was presented was like, it could easily veer into the whole, like, I subscribe to the pseudoscience thing, and it can veer into unhealthy to somebody who is susceptible to that sort of thing.
Like this rose quartz is supposed to help me get my life together.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where either someone could like rely on that stuff, or they start opting for that instead of science. And it did kind of bother me that she kept bringing up like, this is like similar to science and blah, blah, blah. And yeah, like eating healthy, no duh, that's going to make you feel better. Like being around people that make you feel good, obviously that's going to make you feel better. Like it's like information, like, obvious thing is obvious sort of like ideas. And she kept bringing up science, and she brought up crystals and essential oils. I'm just like, this could be a dangerous rabbit hole for someone, because this could veer into like, I'm not going to seek out medical care. Instead, I'm going to rely on essential oils. Is how I foresee it. Yeah. Or like Scientology, like, don't worry, God will save me. instead of, getting cancer treatment.
You don't need to be a Scientologist to believe that, I'll tell you that much. But,
yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know.
essential oils could be its whole episode. Just saying.
Yeah, I like Lavendare's energy. I think she is very vibrant and peppy. I think that's great, right? And I do respect her a little more, like knowing like what Daly was saying about how she kind of explained her journey, right? Vibrations, though, I can't, like, does that just mean if I play God of War and like let the DualShock vibrate all over, am I going to be a better you're going
to vibrate at 48 hertz, Robert.
It's vibrations I've never been a big fan of. And I actually looked into like, what's the real science here? And the closest I could find is some psychologists and neuroscientists looking into like the vibrations of the gamma and beta waves in our brains, and what vibrations lead to like consciousness and self-awareness, but nothing like the way our atoms like, look, the Flash, beloved DC character, he can control the vibration of his molecules to phase through walls. And that makes more sense than this.
That does. Then like, this crystal has good vibes. Use this crystal.
Yeah. If you create a shirt made out of rose quartz and wear it all the time, you'll vibe better.
You'll be a fashion goddess.
I mean, I would just
First
make a
of
shirt.
all.
I'm more likely to make a shirt out of mithril, and that's not even real. That could protect me.
It's a myth.
Oh, I get it.
Do you see what I did there?
Yeah. I do want to turn us though to that New Yorker article that you sent us, Daily.
Yes.
Improving Ourselves to Death by Alexandra Schwartz.
Mm-hmm. That was a good read, especially. I liked that it actually gave examples of like psychologists that tried to follow some of these, purportedly life-changing routines and habits, and like, I'm going to do this every day. And in the end, there was like this moment of like, I've done this for a year and I've just been thinking about myself and like no one else for a year. And that's fucked some shit up. And I think that's something that I think one should keep in mind when pursuing like the self-optimization hustle, is that like, we are social creatures. We have relationships for reasons evolutionarily, and like you're going to be happier probably if you're not constantly in your own little bubble inside your head, because that can lead to some cyclical overthinking, and it sucks. Talk to other people, hang out with other people. Highly recommend.
Exactly. And on your if you decide to pursue some sort of self-help journey, potentially with that can come a lot of anxiety, right? Like a lot of realizing like, or maybe even negative thoughts about, this kind of fault in yourself, or this sort of flaw, right? And it's a lot of like overthinking on yourself, and what other people, that could turn into like what other people think of you, and it's just really dangerous in that way. And so it's and also you're at risk of like being so in your own head and so all about yourself that could actually your relationships with other people could suffer. You know what I'm saying? Or you could become that self-help asshole that's so all about themselves and taking care of themselves.
Meditating. Have
Yeah,
you tried
and
meditation?
Now you're that guy that gives unsolicited advice to everyone they fucking know, and you're like, dude, just shut the fuck up, please.
Yo, you do CrossFit?
Bro,
You guys do CrossFit?
Oh, we haven't even talked about CrossFit.
No, what I do like in that New Yorker article is Schwartz. She quotes Will Barr or Will Storr, not Will Barr. Not.
Are
the,
we going to the
not,
bar or the store?
No, not the defunct
AG William Barr.
Yeah, the AG. Yeah, no. Will Storr, who's this British journalist who like did a deep dive into all of this self-help stuff, right? And he pointed out it's a conclusion we've all come to here. The idea of when you aspire too much, you set yourself up for failure, and that failure makes you feel bad, and then you just don't want to do anything ever. But on the flip side, he's also not a big fan of the American pursuit of happiness, because that takes the other side to its own logical extreme, where essentially you're chasing the next dragon, you're chasing the next, like, I'm happy now, but I need to pursue, there's an even happier me on the other side. I just need to get to that. And then when you get to that one, it's like, no, but there's an even happier me later, right?
Never be satisfied.
Grass is greener.
Yeah.
Never be content.
And I like that idea. Stay hungry, M&M, whatever. But there has to, eat a Skittle. There has to be a point where you just kind of just be content with where you are. Just like take a chill, like base camp, set a chill moment, and just take it all in and see where you are.
But then that means saying no to being even better.
Yeah, well, maybe what's even better is taking care of your mental health. It's like the name of the show, everything in moderation, y'all. Don't set yourself up for failure, but don't reserve yourself to never trying. And I know that's hard. That's a lot of conflicting messages, but you know what? The real answer's somewhere in the middle there.
Life is fucking complicated.
Life is complicated.
That's what it boils down to. And do what feels good. Do what feels good.
Masturbate. Got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. BRB, boys.
All right. And sometimes you have to do things that don't feel good to get back to feeling good, or work up to feeling good. But do what feels good.
Yeah. There's a lot of advice out there. There's a lot of information. I think maybe, dare I say, the best advice is just think for yourself about said advice.
Absolutely.
Because just because it's in New York Times bestseller, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, or because Ty Lopez was in his garage and he has a Lamborghini, so he must know what he's talking about. That kind of thing. Just because it's coming from sources that are successful, everyone's successful in different ways. We can't all be Beyonce. We can't all be Bezos, unless we all come together to take him down.
I think
we
Bezos
all start our own Amazon.
Let's do it. Let's each of us start our own Amazons, because that's honestly, like, sometimes that's almost what it seems to be suggesting. Like, some of these like very business minded, like, hustle self-improvement, it's like you need to become the next CEO of big business. What that big business is, I don't know, but
yeah, it's like those people that say, like, fucking Bill Gates, Zuckerberg, they dropped out of college, and so did Apple guy whose name, why am I forgetting his goddamn, Steve Jobs.
Ooh, let's wait. There you go.
Yeah, Steve Jobs. Yeah, they all dropped out of college and became uber rich and billionaires and blah blah blah. So that obviously, if I do that, that'll work just fine. Am I right, guys?
League schools.
Yeah, am I right? I'm gonna create Microsoft 2. Microsoft 2 coming soon.
Microsoft 2, Microsofter.
Yeah, and by the way, Jeff Bezos is like probably the biggest extreme of what we were just talking about with like the grass is greener philosophy. It's like, yeah, I'm not happy though. I need more. Because he is a real life dragon sitting on a fucking pile of gold.
Right.
Let's not be dragons.
Yeah.
That's
I want to.
Is that going to be my
smoke?
I do have one last tip for everyone here to consider when you're reading
Just
a
the tip.
self-help book, watching a video. Yeah. So, you know, it's pretty common to see shit like, oh, these 5 tips improve my productivity. These 6 tips, you know, made my life better. These 7 tips help me wake up early in the morning, right? There's always a secret 8th tip that they're not saying, and it's that they're monetizing these tips. That is what's getting them to be
Money.
so that's what contributes to their success, you know? So it's great that they're preaching these nice words, but keep in mind the reason they're taking these ideas and repackaging them in different ways so you can keep reading and watching the videos is so they can make money, which, you know, that's fine. You know, everyone's got to hustle and make their own stuff work. But I've never run into a self-help book or anything, and I could probably dig in and find someone who does this, but I've never run into anyone who's been so candid about my self-help stuff is making me money. That's how I'm hustling, but you will need to figure out something different. And I hope these tips help you figure out that different thing.
Yeah, and it's because they're likely an extrovert who has basically weaponized being able to say things with confidence. Just being able to be uber confident in themselves, and sometimes if it's a facade, sometimes maybe it's not, you know, maybe they truly worked to get where they got and they got fucking rich doing it. But like, you know, I mean, those people are also dangerous for various reasons. And that gets into the whole conversation of faking it till you make it, you know. And just, you know, if you can fucking say it with confidence, there's people out there that'll believe you.
Yeah. Not everyone has your best interests at heart, even if, you know, I don't want to accuse, you know, like Thomas Frank and Matt Diavella and Lavender of like being like, haha, these losers will buy anything. Like maybe they absolutely 100% believe that what they're telling you is going to change your life for the better. But you have to know that. You have to find what is actually going to change your life for the better, because you're the person that knows yourself the best.
Right.
You are your best self-help resource.
Oh, that's the wrap, guys. Thanks for listening.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, no matter what you do with your life, at the end of the day, you are the person you're coming home to. You're the person that you have to live with for the entirety of your life. So
yeah. So be nice to yourself.
Yeah.
That'll be my self-help regimen. Yeah. Just be nice to yourself. Take it easy on yourself. You're your own biggest critic, invariably, unless there's like a gremlin that's like, fuck you constantly. And in that case, buy a gremlin swatter from Amazon, because surely Amazon has one.
Don't feed it after midnight.
Okay, now I gotta Google this gremlin swatter.
Okay, so on our next episode, we will be talking about the gremlins that just live and shit on people constantly in your houses, and how to best be rid of them in a humane way. Thanks.
Guns.
Guns is the most. It's just humane to put them out of their misery, where they're making you miserable because they're miserable.
Exactly.
There is one last point I wanted to make. Well, it's because it sounds like we're wrapping up. But like this past year, the year that was 2020, and it will go down in infamy, is probably one of the worst years in modern history.
Knock on wood,
if not
so
worst.
that there's not a worse year. Yeah.
Yeah. As someone who, you know, it was a tough year for me, as it was a lot of people. And it's okay if you weren't necessarily productive, especially during a pandemic. I wasn't as productive as I wanted to be. I talked about it a lot, and a lot of people were like, dude, it's okay. Like, everyone is going through shit right now. And if you're one of those people that were like, fuck, I have all this free time, but god damn it, I just don't feel like doing anything. I don't feel like getting out of bed. I don't feel like being productive. I'd rather just sit here or watch Netflix or just do whatever. That's okay. Because all of us are in crisis mode. Still are. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a lot to deal with right now. There's a lot to stress out about. I mean, I can't tell you how many times, like, full disclosure, I stressed about money this past year. I'm still stressing about money. And it's probably always going to be a stress for a long time. And so we feel for you. You know what I'm saying? So
stressing out like, oh, I have so many bucks, I don't know what to spend it on anymore.
Yeah, that
I'm
was
so
Colin's
stressed out.
problem.
yeah, actually, this whole time, guys, you can't see us on the video, but we're actually like just stacks upon stacks upon stacks upon stacks of money behind us. Racks on racks on racks.
That's why he had to get rid of the laundry chair to make more room for money.
You mean my laundering chair?
Oh, money laundering. Please don't arrest us.
Yeah.
But I hope that this year you accomplish what you want to. And if you don't, that's okay. Forgive yourself. Like I said, be nice to yourself, because who else is gonna? We will. We like you. Thank you for listening to Everything in Poderation. You can find us here on whatever you're listening to, meaning YouTube or Anchor or Apple Podcasts or Spotify even. Hope that we appear in someone's Wrapped one day. That would be cool. That's my goal. That's my New Year's resolution. Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone, maybe myself.
Probably David Portnow, if anybody. Shout out to David Portnow.
Shout out, David. You're a real
Hell
man.
yeah.
That guy is dropping like books worth of comments, and they're so great.
Makes
and
me so happy every time.
Yeah, it is. It does. Yeah. So keep doing your thing, David. We appreciate you.
Yeah, David knows where to find us on YouTube at Everything in Pod, and on Twitter at Everything in Pod versus YouTube Everything in Poderation. You know.
I feel like
it's the doobly doo. It's down
there. It's the doobly doo's down there.
I feel like that band that's just starting out, and you're just like playing a show, and you're playing to like one or two people, and like, yeah, I'd like to thank Josh for coming out tonight.
Yeah. Thanks, Josh. If there's a Josh out there, I hope that you're like, whoa, cool. They know me.
I totally haven't played a show to only one person or anything. Totally not.
Yeah. But you'll continue to hear us here in the new year, 2021, y'all. Let's go. Let's get this bread. Let's rise and grind. Let's go, kings.
And also shout out to all the people that have sourdough starters still.